the Emmy Award-winning actor from the hit HBO show Barry, which can be seen right after Game of Thrones Sunday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Bill Hader, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, bud.
By the way, nice spot for the show, right?
Yeah.
Right after Game of Thrones.
And between the last seasons of Game of Thrones and Veep. Yeah, it's kind of a great.
By the way, that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
Who'd you have to pay off to do that sort of thing?
No, I remember they kind of just, HBO just kind of told us that in the most nonchalant way. They're like, yeah, so you guys are going to be airing here, and it'll be like Game of Thrones Veep, the last season's of show. And then they kept talking about something else. And Alec Berg and I were like, wait, what?
That works.
Excuse me?
Yeah, where do we sign for that?
It's like, yes.
Yeah, I know. And you were just saying that your next episode of Barry.
Yeah, episode 5 is crazy. Yeah, we have an episode coming up. I don't want to ruin anything for people who didn't see last week's, but it ended on this kind of twist. Mm-hmm. And Barry has to go do this thing, and it's the episode's pretty insane. So we're excited because next week's Game of Thrones is going to be amazing too.
Right.
So too good.
That's what happens when you win an Emmy, right? That's how it works.
So.
Exactly. That's how it works. Well, again, let's get into this a little bit here. So Barry is a hitman who's trying to get away from that world by becoming an actor.
Yeah.
And the world will not let him do it. And it is just amazing. The show is truly amazing. You're great in it. Where did it come from? Why did you choose this as a show for you to do,
Well, after I finished Saturday Night Live, I moved to LA, and I just took a bunch of meetings, and I went into HBO, and they said, well, what do you want to do? And I love HBO. I'd love to do a show with you guys. And do you have an idea? And I was like, no. And, and I go, I don't have an idea.
Right.
And they said, well, is there anybody you like? And my agent, he reps Alec Berg. Mm-hmm. And Alec Berg and I had met briefly. And I was like, well, I love Alec Berg. And they said, well, yeah, great. Well, why don't you get together with him? So we sat down. He was writing Silicon Valley.
Right.
And we would meet for breakfast.
Fresh off of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
He did Curb, and then he was doing Silicon Valley.
Right.
And so before he would go in the writer's room of Silicon Valley once a week, he would have breakfast with me down the street from the writer's room, and we would talk ideas. And after about a month and a half, we were getting frustrated because everything was kind of slice of life. And I go, wow, I'd like to have something that has like real stakes to it. Mm-hmm. I said, oh, the biggest stakes are life and death. And I said, what if I played a hitman? And Alec went, ugh, no, I hate hitmen. He's like, there's more. He said, hitman's like dog catcher. It's like a thing that's in movies more than they are in real life.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So he was like, no, let's not do hitman. And then I was like, no, but it's going to be me. And he was like, oh, that could be funny. If it's you as like a, like you being yourself. And then very quickly we thought, what if he wanted to be an actor? I don't know why. We were like, what if he took an acting class to like learn how to be a human being?
Right.
Because all this murder. And so we were kind of like, oh, what if like, the William Money from Unforgiven or Travis Bickle tried to find salvation and redemption through the people in Waiting for Guffman? What if he got with those people and tried to learn how to behave again because all these years of murdering people and what it's done to his soul and everything, and what if that was his therapy and a way of feeling that he could be somehow redeemed through art.
Well, I was going to ask you who your character, I guess, was based on in previous pop culture worlds. And so Willie Money, who's Clint Eastwood from Unforgiven, which to me is like the perfect Western. And I know that for old school Western people might hear that and think otherwise.
No, I love that movie. Alec and I went and saw it in the theater while we were writing the first season. Yeah, they played it again at the iPic in Westwood, and it's like, we gotta go. And we walked out and we were like, yeah, I think we could do that, but with a lot of jokes.
Right.
Let's do that tone, but with jokes. So yeah, and especially this season, if you liked, Taxi Driver, that Taxi Driver Unforgiven thing is very evident through this season, that comparison or whatever.
Well, the comparison I got Bill Hader here on the Rich Eisen show. The comparison for me is Walter White. From Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And not because it's a nice guy who breaks bad because of circumstances. It's because on occasion I'm watching your character. I'm rooting for you 1 minute, and the next minute I am just like, this bastard. I can't. You
Yeah,
know, like,
no, he's an awful guy.
Right. He does some awful things that when it comes to it, like, where's the nice guy, the nice sensibility of the guy who wants to get out of that world, but keeps on making choices to stay in it, even though sometimes the choices are so awful.
Yeah, we were talking about that, where it was the Breaking Good type thing, like a bad guy trying to be good.
Right.
And, yeah, that was one. Someone said that in an article, and I was like, oh yeah. I mean, but definitely Breaking Bad. I was a big fan of that show, like the idea of trying to keep two worlds separate. And,
right.
But this guy thinking, oh, what if, is this all I'm good at? You know, where, you know, a lot of those shows, what I loved about Breaking Bad and Sopranos, it was almost like this wish fulfillment of, like, you could relate so well to these people.
Right.
You could relate to them and then be like, what if, you know, I was in a dead-end job and everything, and, you know, what if I just became a drug dealer and made a bunch of money, and, you know, that idea. And Alec and I talked about that, and I go, what? Yeah, I've seen that, and it's been done so well. You know, this could be like the opposite of that, of a guy who's so bad that he's trying to get in tune and find some sort of redemption. Another Scorsese movie we talked about was Raging Bull. You know, it's like that feeling of redemption of, like, this guy who's just, he's not a very good guy,
right?
You know, trying to find some sort of hope or glimmer, and the idea that he's very self-aware of how bad he is, you know, and trying to, you know, you know, this idea that I was put on this earth to kill people.
Right.
Like, the only thing I'm good at is killing people. Like, the only thing I'm naturally good at is that. I hope that's not it. That's not my lot in life. So it's a comedy.
I know.
It's hilarious.
I know. It is. It really is. And I know that we're talking about deep stuff and the Scorsese stuff. Bill Hader here on the Rich Eisen Show. And a lot of the comedy does come from a lot of the acting classes. And you choose as the acting coach to cast Henry Winkler, who won also for his work here. He's one of the nicest guys in the world.
Yeah.
What was it like when he walked in? Did you audition him?
Yeah, he read for us. He came in and read, and I was like, you know, you go into the casting office and there's a bunch of guys, you know, with their script, you know, pages, the sides ready to go, and there's Henry Winkler, and I'm like, what, you know?
You didn't know he was coming in?
We had talked about him, right? And my casting director Sherry Thomas and I had said, you know, who'd be great for Kusno is Henry Winkler. I didn't know he was going to read necessarily.
Sure.
I thought it was going to be like a meeting. And then when he came in, I was so nervous. Alec and I both were just so starstruck by him. And then he was awesome. And then we did the terrible thing that, you know, you do to actors. You go, you were great. Can you come in and read again? You know, I wrote a new scene for us to do. And Henry was like, will you just give me the job?
That's right. I'm Fonzie, for crying out loud. You want to talk about television comedy history,
I know.
royalty?
He's TV. He's TV to us. Like, that's the first image of television I can remember as a kid was Fonzie.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, and he does it sometimes. He'll talk about something and he'll go into Fonzie for a second.
Come on.
And I'll go... Alec Berg was behind me. He was talking about something, and Henry was like, "Oh, we couldn't leave." He goes, "Me and Ron Howard and some of the guys from the show, we were trying to leave we did a signing, and we were trying to leave this mall in Dallas, and people wouldn't let us through. So he's like, I came out as Fonzie, you know, and hey, but like the Red Sea." And he said he did that, and when he did it, I went like this, and Alec Berg was behind me, and Alec, who's not the most effusive guy, he's very like, and Alec went, "Oh my God." Like, you forget that he's Fonzie, so he did it, and we all, and I just looked at him like, "Can you believe?" He's like, "I can't believe it." And we were like two little kids, you know,
right? Like, just disappointed that he doesn't actually turn on the lights by just hitting a wall.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
well, we were shooting a really emotional scene this season, and I was directing Henry, and it's this really rough scene for him, and in the middle of it, I'm kind of, again, it's like what we were just doing, talking about kind of the darkness of whatever. And he looks around and he goes, "You know, this is the stage we were at Paramount, stage 19. He goes, "This is where we did Happy Days." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And then our camera operator was like, "Wait, what?" Wait, boom guy, "Wait, what? This is where you guys did Happy Days?" He was like, "Yeah, this is where we did Happy Days." And we were like, "Well, wait." And everything stopped and we were like, "Where?" where was this? Where was the jukebox? Where was this? And he just took us on a little tour.
Did?
Yeah, and the whole thing stopped. We just stopped shooting. We stopped doing everything. He was like, so yeah, the jukebox would be here, and then I would do, and then why, and he was just explaining everything, and my head was exploding. Yeah,
where Tom Bosley's craft service table was, like that.
This
sort
is
of...
where Tom would yell at me. And this is I don't know. He did not say that.
Oh man, Bill Hader here on the Rich Eisen Show. Your favorite character you did on SNL would be what? If you could just like wave a wand and say, I'll go back. Obviously, they're having you back all the time now, but if you could just do it again.
I had a lot of favorite ones. I love doing the Vincent Price specials when I was Vincent Price. I love doing Keith Morrison, the Dateline guy.
You could just read anything from him and it would just sound creepy, right? I mean.
Yeah, he also said, he said something, it was it's not this, but it was something like a guy, he says like, so your dad got shot in the face. He goes, wow, that must have been a while. Like, it's so like...
It's not right to laugh at it, but
it's like, oh, that must have been a while, right in front of you. Wow.
Where did Vincent Price come from? Like,
I'm just a big Vincent Price fan, and then I remember...
So you pitched it around a table? You're like, I want to do Vincent Price?
This guy, Matt Murray, and I talked about it.
Right.
And we decided to do it, and for Thanksgiving, it was like this weird Thanksgiving special. And I remember right before I came out to do it, Lauren Michaels goes, it was my third or fourth show. I was terrified. And he went, I like this, but why now? Why now do we do Vincent Price? But people seem to like it, and that one was fun. Keith Morrison was fun. Vinny Vedecci, the Italian talk show host, was fun.
Where was that born out of? Just
I was in line to see AI, the movie AI, at the Man's Chinese, and there was a guy in front of us talking like that, and he was kind of lecherous, Italian guy, and he was hitting on these two 18-year-old girls, and he was like, I buy you gelato, you want gelato? And he was like, I want to buy you gelato. No, we watch gelato, and then we see Robot Boy, eh? And so the whole movie, I was making my friends laugh, going like, oh, the little Robot Boy ate spinach, he breaks him, he break. Oh, the teddy bear, he don't like him no more. And I was just like, going, and I was just doing it the whole movie to make my two friends laugh. And then I was like, oh, I should probably, and then when I met manager, and she goes, well, can you do impressions? And I was like, no, I'd never really thought about doing impressions of famous people. And she goes, well, do you do a voice, anything? And I went, what is this guy, this Italian guy? I went, and she goes, okay, we could work with that. And that became my audition. My audition was that guy
for
doing
SNL?
Impressions. Yeah, so it was like Vinny Vedecci, the Italian guy, was auditioning for SNL. Like,
right.
Thank you, Lauren. Oh, this is so amazing. And then he would do a bunch of impressions.
So who is Bill Hader here on the Rich Eisen Show? Where did Stefan come from? Did that
that came from two things. John Mulaney wrote that with me, and John deserves a lot of credit for Stefan, because he wrote so much of the rhythm of that and the specifics of it, and clearly I found it funny because I laughed every time we did it. I don't think we ever did it where I didn't laugh. And it came from an email he got describing a club, and it was this guy was trying to get John to, it was like a club promoter, and John was at his desk, and he goes, read this email, listen to this email I just got. And it was, this thing has everything that, this club has everything, the hottest club in New York is blank, and it had that thing to it. And one of the things was a room full of broken glass. And we started laughing. And then I would go to a coffee shop in Chelsea on my way to work, and there was a guy, the barista there, was kind of like that,
And thus Stefan was born.
Yeah, I remember one time he said, I live like on the lower east side.
We're looking at a photograph of Stefan right now as you said that.
I love Stefan, but I always feel bad because I've never done it without breaking, because John will put in different things, or he'll tell me as I'm walking out, and it's just like throwing stuff at me. And when I hosted last, John came out as Shy, his lawyer, who's also a piss artist.
Yeah.
And he came in, and This is all John, and John whispered it, and he comes out, and I thought he was going to do it kind of like in the Stefan voice, like, hey, Stefan, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he comes out and he goes, hello, Stefan. He talked in a very normal voice. And he goes, hello, Stefan. Hello, everyone. And he kind of talked in this real official voice. And I started laughing. And then he whispered in my ear. He goes, oh, I have something to tell you. And he just whispers in my ear, my girlfriend works at Yoshinoya Beef Ball. And I just start laughing just to like, it's just punching me in the face. He's like, hey, by the way, my girlfriend works at Yoshinoya Beef Ball. And I'm like, if you watch it, I'm like, what?
I'll tell you, I know you're not supposed to laugh at this stuff and break in the middle of a scene, but that's just
I broke
amazing.
every time.
You did?
The first time was we had a club promoter named Amnesia Bernstein, and it didn't really get anything. And then he goes, Amnesia Bernstein didn't really get anything. And he goes, I'll change it to something else. And then as I was walking out, he goes, I changed Amnesia Bernstein to Gay Leota. And I started laughing. So the minute I roll out, I'm like, Gay Leota. All right, the other one was, the other one that made me laugh was he said, he'll change little things. We had written also at the club was a 2-year-old Ultimate Fighter, Julie Lips Jackson. He's got fists like empanadas, and he's addicted to ecstasy. That's what we wrote. And then he wrote, so it was like 2-year-old Ultimate Fighter, Julie Lips Jackson. He's got fists like empanadas, and they turned the cue card. And it said, and he's my best friend. So when he turns the card, it says, and he's my best friend. Oh my God. I lost it.
Oh my God.
I was like, John.
I am laughing so hard.
And behind the cue cards past him, I could see him and Sandberg up against the wall, just like watching me, laughing, like, get through this, dude.
That's what I mean. The last thing I will bring up too is I would pay to be able to, if I'm driving around here and my phone is giving me directions, to have your Californian's voice deliver the direct. I would pay to change the voice. You know how you can change it from Australian or British or whatever?
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, that's all. That's Fred Armisen and a guy named James. That's Fred Armisen and a guy named James Anderson, and that's a bit that Fred and Keenan and I used to do when we would get back from LA. Go, yeah, man, I just got back from LA, and it's like, cool, man. How'd you get to your hotel? It's like, well, I went down Sunset, took a left on La Cienega, and then I took that all the way down, and took a ride on Venice, and then we would like always say how we got places. And then he made it a soap opera, which really made me laugh. And Fred came up to me and goes, oh, I did our bit. It's a soap opera. I was like, what?
I would just pay to have you just say, you make a right, and then, sometimes you just miss the right, and just hearing your voice basically, back up.
Yeah, it's like, back up, rerouting. Whoa, dude, rerouting. Proceed to the route.
Oh, my gosh. See? I'm trying to leave you with an idea,
Just make some money on this.
I'm just saying you can. Hey, Bill, love it when you come on the show. Thanks again.
Man. Thanks for having me, bud.
Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Barry's airing Sunday. By the way, after the Battle of Winterfell, as you just mentioned, season 5. Your second season, 5th episode is the craziest one yet.
Yeah. It was a good episode.
Fantastic.
Pretty insane.
I'm loving watching it. Really,
Thanks,
I really am. Check out Barry on HBO Sunday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Time.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.